All right, so what I want to do now is spend just a few minutes on packaging, pricing, and positioning. Now, this is probably where we do most of our work today, right? Because, to be quite honest, the way we price our solutions over the last 20 years, it's really for your benefit. Like, how do we push the risk onto the buyer? Here's an estimate, but if we're wrong, it's time and materials. Yeah, laughter of recognition. Right, so in the cloud, I'll tell you this, and it's not just the cloud, it's just the modern buyer 2.0. The more risk you choose to absorb, the more you will sell. It's that simple. So you all have to make business decisions about how much risk you want to take on in terms of how you price and package. But the less risk it is for them, the quicker they say yes. So we've seen companies like Power Objects. It was recently bought out for a lot. They went into the CRM market and said, hey, we can sell a license for $50, $60, and then we can sell time and materials around it. Or we can sell a license for $50 or $60, and we'll sell unlimited configuration for another $50. So the total price per month is around $100, $110 per user per month, which was the exact same price of Salesforce. Now, do you think there was some risk in that? Unlimited configuration for $50 per user per month. Are you crazy? They're going to ask for everything. Now, a typical MSP would think, well, okay, let's hope no one phones us. Right? So let's oversell and underconsume. That's why the margins are so good. That was not the model. So what Jim did instead is he punished the resources that were dedicated to delivering these services if their utilization rate internally fell below a certain number. So they would proactively phone the customers that had subscribed to these services and said, hey, you're not getting value for your dollar. What can we do for you? Contrarian. It was crazy in its day. Oh, but wildly successful. There was some really strong math behind it. Right? So he knew how many licenses per user per month he had to sell at that price point to then hire more resources. Right? This was not just a guess. But what he did was he rewarded people within the company for identifying stuff that was reusable. He put up a SharePoint site. You post these things that you felt other people might benefit from. And if it was really interesting, they would create a little tiny applet, which Brent talked about earlier, and put it up on the marketplace for $1, $1 per user per month. And they collected them by the tens of thousands. Right? So it's a great example of an organization that took on a higher level of risk, but really was rewarded for it in the back end. Right? So some psychology around bringing these solutions to market and packaging things up. Right? How many people in the room sort of associate with perfectionism? Yeah, it's what keeps you the job that you got. Right? So we talk a lot about minimum viable product. I don't want you to think in terms of minimum viable product. I want you to think in terms of minimum lovable product. Minimum viable product will be copied. Someone will improve it. You got to bring something to market that people are going to love. But it doesn't have to be huge. Right? How many people had a VCR and never figured out how to change the clock? 50% of the people that bought those things, and this is an audience that knows what they are. My daughter, the other day, I'm with her in a store. She's like, Dad, what are those things? Those are record albums. They're coming back. What did you do with them? Oh, I'm old. Hey, but you know what this is. Right? Do not overbuild. So there's a lot of science around threes, at risk of overstating the obvious. Right? So we've written a number of white papers for partners for Microsoft around pricing psychology. I'll make sure, if they're not already on that website URL that I shared earlier, that we add them to it. Right? But one of the most powerful things you can do is to create packages, but orient them towards the one you want them to buy, the one with the highest margin. Right? So at a minimum, you want an early entry point that you can upgrade from as that company grows. You typically want to sell the one in the middle because it has the highest margin structure, and psychologically, that's the one people are going to step into. And if someone's foolish enough to buy the premium edition, by God, sell it to them all day long. right? Because there are snowflakes out there that are unique that need special attention. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, right? But they're just premium buyers. Right? So the magic, though, is in packaging this stuff up so that it's clear, what do I need, small, medium, or large? And then what do I put in these things to make one more attractive than the other? So I can talk for hours about it, or I can show you some examples, right, of organizations that have done a really good job of this. Right? So this one obviously is about SharePoint user experience and designing themes. Right? So there's an entry point, there's a midpoint, and then, of course, there's a high end. Yes?
So if you're doing managed service.
So I just want to bring the mic down.
So, no, I'll speak up. So if you're doing managed service, that's an intangible. Okay? What you're suggesting here, and I'm just curious if this is if you're saying we should do this, is you're commoditizing the product by putting a dollar figure on the website. Mm-hmm. And so you think that as MSPs for Microsoft and doing Microsoft, that we should put our MSP packages on the website?
Completely. I'm completely
with
saying
a price. With a price.
With price. Transparency is one of the 9 core components of emotional engagement. And to the degree that you think your competitors don't know what you charge is the degree to which you are delusional. Just my opinion.
Okay, so I'm a delusional.
Yeah. So again, it comes down to.
I've just never done that. I mean, I've always had the point of view of never to put the price. Give you enough information that you're going to ask me about the service and the price. And the price, because there's value add. And if you remember, just real quick in my last little point, back in the 90s, I did a lot of selling of websites. Back then you could get, 5, 6, 7 figures for a website. You never put it on, hey, this is a website that's going to cost you $50,000.
Yes. So my response to this is not just a 9-beer conversation. It's closer to 12. When we have these conversations one-on-one with partners, it's a long and hardy battle. There is a tremendous amount of resistance to putting any pricing up into the public realm, right? But I will tell you, from a psychological perspective, when someone goes first, this is about vulnerability, right? So we to drive vulnerability, which is what we want in a buying cycle, I want you to tell me the truth about what you really value, what you're really looking for. We always want the prospect to go first. What's your budget? Well, rather not share. What's it going to cost? Well, it depends. How long is a piece of string? How many times have you said that? It depends. Everyone's different. Okay, well, how long have you been doing this work? 20 years? After 20 years of doing this, you tell me that you can't find 3 packages? So we've worked with AX, ERP, complicated, multi-million-dollar projects, the companies, and at the end of the fight, they found that there are 3 general categories of solutions that they could package up and bundle. Right? So I know there's a lot of skepticism around this.
This is more for enterprise or SMB?
Everybody. It's harder to do in enterprise because the projects are bigger and there's more risk. But if you are transparent with your pricing and you have packages, it communicates a number of interesting things. One, we know this business so well, we can put our pricing out there and tell you exactly what you need. It is a prescriptive sell. It's a prescriptive sell. If it's, hey, we don't know enough about your business, you've got to tell us a whole bunch of stuff, and then we're going to come up with some unique pricing. Imagine someone says that to you. Right? 2 sales consultants come in. I'll take that question in just a minute. 2 sales consultants come in to sell you something. One says, okay, tell me all about your business. I need to learn about your sales motion. I need to do about this. I got to understand this. And then at that, I'm going to give you a customized price because you're business owners. Someone else comes in and says, hey, we do nothing but work with Microsoft Dynamics partners. I can tell you right now, there's 3 ways to solve this problem. There's a light, medium, and a heavy. One is going to be about a $10,000 commitment. One's about 50, and one's about 100. We've done this so many times, we can tell you exactly what goes on in each of those. Who are you more interested in talking to? It's going to be second one. Now, you may end up with, at the end, buying something unique for you. All I'm suggesting is the organizations, the partners out there today that are transparent with their pricing, that are packaging things in a way that are unique and different, are the ones that are growing. Now, if what you're packaging is a commodity, and there's no differentiation, well, then its lowest price is the law. Question over here. Yeah.
Do you have some examples of specific managed service providers in the North American market who are doing this successfully? Because I'd love to see what their website looks like and how they provide that particular narrative.
Sure. So, not in this presentation. We have helped some of those MSPs package those things up. We do not have permission to show their websites. It's not a jello statement.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
In a world that longs for someone to pick up the phone when they call, we will. You know what?
Run that one by.
In a world that longs for someone to pick up the call and I'm talking to our industry.
Yeah.
To longs for someone to pick up the phone when they call, we will. Here's our help desk. Here's our stuff. We'll sell this to you. I mean, we're there. And we'll send somebody out if you need it. Or you're not satisfied, you don't pay our guarantee and promise. Those are very simple things that are your competitive advantage that you probably are already doing. If you're a managed service provider, I pretty much guarantee that people in the room are doing this. It's just in our marketplace. Thank God none of you are from Iowa that I know of. But, in our marketplace, I'm competing. I looked at McGladry's site, and it says I'm $3 billion. Hey, how does that speak to my market? So, I mean, that is a $3 billion guy going to pick up the phone when you call? Because I don't think they will.
So definitely a differentiator, right, would be I'm a member of your tribe, I'm the same size as you, I'm local as you. Right? So don't disagree with that. What we're talking about here is packaging up your stuff. Yeah, in a way, you've done this long enough to manage the risk around what those offers are. I am guaranteeing you, if you package up your stuff and make it transparent, you will get more leads. Yeah, not in writing. So again, we could do an entire day on pricing, packaging, and positioning. Right? What we want to do is I want to be very provocative here. I want you to start to consider how could I package up our stuff in a way that it makes it easy for a prospect to say yes to. If there is no risk, I will buy today. If there's a whole bunch of unknowns, well, that means I got to do a whole bunch of work. Question over here.
Yeah, this is related not so much the bundling and packaging of things, but the open, transparent pricing.
Yes.
Does that apply literally to everything? So I would say that one of the reasons the managed services that works is it does kind of approach a commodity service. But at least in my case, we provide some, I'll call it higher order consulting type services that you would see at big international consulting type firms. I can't imagine, number one, I wouldn't have a clue how to do it, and I have been doing it for 20 years. I don't have a clue what I would charge the client until I talk to them. So where do you kind of draw the line for that?
Yeah, great question. So again, there's a reason why we're having this discussion right now. Right? This is a marketing discussion. It's not a profitability discussion yet, right? But this is about how do I get more people to engage with us in an online world. The more transparency you have, the higher probability they're going to reach out to you. Now, my belief is if we got up on a whiteboard, we could figure out, looking at deals that you've worked on over the 20 years, that they probably fall into 3 buckets. Now, if I resonate with one of those buckets, and I reach out to you, and we learn through the discovery process that I need something special, probably buy them. This is about lead conversion, and it's about, candidly, building new packaged offerings that have a higher margin structure. Question over here.
Yeah, so I get the whole Olympic gold, silver, bronze thing. Yeah. But one of the things I was wondering, and we're trying, so it's still early stages, is a calculator where they can pick components of a solution and it'll send them a proposal. Here you go. Now, there's a caveat. This is budgetary, yada, yada, yada. But have you seen anybody pull that off? And then my second part to that question is, rather than actually bundle up like you've done here, we send out an ebook, Lessons Learned, moving to the cloud. And it kind of does, implicit in the lessons, position some of the offerings. But it's more on the emotional side, like, geez, lessons learned, I'm moving to the cloud. What the heck could go wrong here? And that actually has produced some business for us, the Lessons Learned ebook, like the high-value offer.
Yes.
But the calculator, it's a little awkward right now, so that might be part of the problem. But I still think that has some legs. People want to see the price. Those early buyers that you had before, like the early buyer, a lot of times they're looking for pricing. That's what they want to know, is what is this going to cost? They don't want to talk to a salesperson to get it. They just want to have an idea, if I go with you, how much is this going to cost me?
Completely agree. So I'm going to answer both of those questions. Now, the hard thing about answering compound questions which is that. So I'm going to ask one question, then another. The brain always answers the second one. Right? So it's one of the biggest challenges sales professionals have is the last 3-4 questions in a row, and they get the answer to the last one. So the first question was, well, Mark, what are your thoughts around a configurator, right, that engages the prospect, puts them in control, and then produces some form of personalized price? That's magic. So don't give up on that too soon. It's hard to do because there's probably a lot of variables. But the magic in there is control. If there's one thing that today's buyer wants, they want to be in control. They do not want to be at the whim of a sales professional. Right? They do not want to trade information for the truth. Right? So philosophically, like that's a psychological difference is we know enough about your business to be able to put packaged offers up because we know that transparency is going to drive a higher volume of leads. Is there a price you pay for that? For sure. For sure, right? But you've given before you get, right? So I love that configurator. Are there other companies doing that? For sure. But the more moving parts there is, the harder it is. Yeah. Now I've already forgotten the second question. Oh, the ebook. Yeah, I love it. So what emotion does the ebook speak to? Yeah, fear. Here's stuff you got to avoid. Here's the bear pits, right? So that's going to be, I suspect, a very strong conversion tool. And again, yeah. Here, you're interested in some stuff before you go any further. Look at this. Love the idea. Here comes the mic.
So a lot of people in our ecosystem are saying one. The total, not, we used to have gold, the 3, the basic, total. We have one package we offer. Mm-hmm. That's the only way in. We used to have basic and then total. Now we're just total. So how do you deal with that with 3 different pricing schemes? So
I'm not adverse. It's a great question, right? So I'm not adverse to having hey, look, we know your business so well, there's only one solution. But you need to be very, very clear on what that value proposition is in terms of what it is that they need from a demand perspective. So we've worked with a lot of organizations that want just one offering, and when they really get their market, they nail it. But it's hard to do. Right? So you're going to say no to a lot of organizations because they'll either have sticker shock around that price, or they're not going to resonate with the configuration of services. The reason you want to have 3, you can have 4, but it becomes confusing. Right? So the brain likes 3s. And it's a little bit more than the silver, bronze, gold. There's a lot of science behind it. Is you want an entry point where people can come in and you can upgrade them later. Or you can get them in because that's their price expectation, and then you can talk them into something bigger. But I will share this. You need to know, here's me and my preacher thing, you need to know enough about your business to say, look, here's the 3 recommended solution sets. You might be different, and have the courage to be transparent about that pricing because it will generate more leads. It will also force you as a company to think through that packaging. I cannot tell you how long I debated about pulling this section out of this day because it's a never-ending conversation. It really is, right? And because it challenges a lot of what you believe and feel about what you built your business into. So let's just go back to the basics. Prospects want to be in control emotionally. If you can find another form of giving them control, like the configurator, that's good. Right? They want transparency and truth. They don't want to be interrogated to get to a point where they learn 3 weeks later they can't afford it. So when I go looking for stuff, I want to know what it's going to cost. And if I see 4 different partners and they all offer similar things, but 2 of them are completely transparent with pricing, I'm probably going to have a conversation with them first because I know they're within my range. But I will tell you, most of the websites that we see out there today, you cannot even tell what the offer is. Hey, we're a technology company. We offer managed services. We focus on the SMB market, and you're like, well, yeah, but is that $100 a month or is it $100,000? You have no idea. So I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to take the last question over here, but that what you're trying to drive is transparency, which leads to trust, which leads to the truth, and what you're trying to do is put the prospect in control. Now, when you have these 3 packaged offers, you do have control over the margin. Right? In a commodity bananas market, if everybody's selling the same thing, the scale player has the advantage. Right? So you can create different packages that have different margin structures to differentiate yourself. Yes?
Hopefully I'm the last contribution to this never-ending discussion.
It's unlikely.
So I totally get what you're saying here,
Yeah.
and I love this. I think that it's super powerful to think about, and my head's spinning now as far as like actually putting the pricing up on the website
Yeah.
for everybody to see. And I know that some of the larger providers that may do something similar to we do already do this,
Yes.
right? My concern is in a specific geographical region where there may be a lot of partners that are somewhat doing the same thing, even with unique service offerings. How do you do this without starting a race to zero?
Yeah. So that's a great question. Right? So to avoid your competitors just putting a lower price up. So it is a risky proposition to put up a packaged offering that is a commodity, unless you are the low-cost provider. So I would challenge you, before you start racing to create packaged offers, be really clear on, can I differentiate with this? And think beyond the typical technology componentry that you've used in the past. Right? So the easiest, lowest risk place to start is some kind of security and compliance offer. Right? So it's not just about the managed service. Right? It's about, let's look at this and offer up or bundle in different things. Right? I do not believe the partner of the future is going to be selling discrete Microsoft products. That game is over. Right? So it's the creative partner that knits together the componentry. Right? So we all know people buy the high-end eSKUs and use very little of it. Right? So there's got to be ways to get them to bundle that stuff in and actually get them to consume it. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about different types of services to configure moving forward beyond what we do today that I think will build on this. Whew. You're welcome. It's a great question. All right. Do you think we beat that horse to death? No. But I'm out of time. Yeah. So what I want to do now is there's some more examples. Here's our friends at AWS. Very transparent about what you buy. Standard, advanced, and DevOps. Here's another example over here. Partner in South Africa. Bronze, silver, gold, using the Olympic analogy. There's no shortage of this stuff out here. You go to our big competitors in terms of the Salesforces on the Dynamics side and the NetSuites, everything is transparent in the business applications world. And you can't tell me that that's not more complicated than managed services, because I sold it for 20 years. Right? So that community, the reason Brent and I came from the Dynamics world, because the cloud rolled through that partner community long before it came to you. Right? There's about a 4-year gap. So that community, if you just watch them, what they've done, almost every single successful SaaS provider, you go to their website, they got 3 options. Doesn't mean they won't sell you whatever you need, right? But they're pretty clear on what small, medium, and large looks like. So again, if this conversation kind of leaves you a little bit, I've done my job. Right? Just start to consider it, start to think about it. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You're not going to think about it at all. I already know that. I got that look. That's body language, but that's okay. And so here's my challenge. Cadillac as a service. If an automobile manufacturer can find a way to package up an offering like Cadillac as a service, which includes the use of up to 8 different types of vehicles throughout the year that you book on your iPhone app, it includes insurance, it includes leasing, it includes maintenance, it includes everything under the sun. If an automobile manufacturer can come up with a way to package that up, I got to believe we can come up with a way to package up our services. Anyone seen this thing before? Pretty fascinating, eh? We got clothing as a service now. I'm not going to bore you with those slides. Clothing as a service. Buy that for my kids.